Su-57 Fraser is a complex platform to invest. India already withdrawn from the FGFA Joint Development Programme in 2018 due to many reasons. The FGFA that was planned to be co-developed by HAL and Sukhoi was also expected to be the primary export variant of Su-57 that ensures the original Russian technology to be in the hands of the manufacturer. Unfortunately, when India withdrawn from the program, Sukhoi took the responsibility to develop the export version on its own. While US and China already operationalized their fifth-generation fighters, Russia is still flying the prototypes for now. The development also suffered various delays due to budget cuts and lack of funding. Fortunately, the latest declaration of Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed that Su-57 will enter in service soon with Russian Air Force with the fleet of 76 jets by 2028, but still it's a long way to go. Coming to the export variant Su-57E, it is a surprise for the world that Russia is offering its first fifth-gen fighter to other nations while US and China refuse to export the F-22 and J-20 respectively because they don't want to share the critical technology with other countries. Russian fighter jets have consistently been developed at a significantly lower prices than their American counterparts. Maintenance costs for Russian jets have also been considerably lower, but the main problem comes in arranging the spares. Manufacturers like Sukhoi are criticized for their slow manufacturing and poor supply of spares due to delay of delivery. Even after being a stealth fifth-generation fighter and a Russian marvel, Su-57 is often regarded as overrated. Experts believe that Su-57 don't withstand the capabilities for what it was projected. It is inferior when compared to its arch-rival F-22 Raptor in most of the characteristics. Raptor has appreciable chance to win the BVR combat. It is highly maneuverable and carries state-of-the-art electronic warfare and fly-by-wire system. It has a significant edge over Su-57 in case of stealth. Su-57 on the other hand owns a great maneuverable achievement. It is equipped with an infrared search and track (IRST) that will help the pilot track and engage targets with infrared-guided missiles. F-22 is battle-proven. It served in the war-torn Syria and eventually carried various sorties and missions. Su-57 was once stationed in Syria to check its capability in a war zone. Ever since the Indian Air Force's first Rafale fighter jets landed in Ambala earlier this week, news and social media have been busy comparing the French Warbird with combat aircraft operated in Pakistan and China. A notable aircraft that came up for comparison was the Chengdu J-20, China's first stealth fighter. The J-20 made its first flight in 2011 and has been compared to the US F-22 and F-35 stealth fighters, which are called fifth-generation combat aircraft. However, the J-20's limited stealth features, when compared with the US aircraft, and its use of an older Russian engine have attracted criticism. Former Indian Air Force officers have said the Rafale had superior capabilities when compared with the J-20. On Friday, a media report claimed China had downgraded the J-20's classification from a fifth-generation to a fourth-generation fighter. The report was based on an article in China's Global Times that referred to the J-20 as a fourth-generation fighter. But did the Chinese media or government really downgrade the designation of its stealth fighter? To understand that, we need to first look at classification of fighter generations. Fighter generations are an unstandardized industry classification, primarily used in the West, to describe the level of technology on a jet combat aircraft. The fourth-generation fighters arrived in the 1970s and still dominate military aviation today. Advanced multimode radars capable of tracking both aerial and surface targets and other sensors, fly-by-wire flight controls for high maneuverability and a host of advanced weapons marked this generation of fighters. The US F-15 and F-16, French Mirage 2000 and Russian Su-27 and MiG-29 are examples of fourth-generation fighters. Fifth-generation fighters, according to U.S. Air Force magazine, are characterized by all-aspect stealth, internal carriage of precision weapons, active electronically scanned array (AESA) radars, and plug-and-play electronics. The US F-22 and F-35 are the only fifth-generation fighters in service now, while the Russian Su-57 is being inducted. China's People's Liberation Army uses a different method of classification of fighter generations. The U.S. Navy's Office of Naval Intelligence explained this classification system in a report on the Chinese Navy in a 2007 report. The PLA's system does not necessarily match the international system. The PLAF and Naval Aviation identify their aircraft only as first, second, and third generation based on when they were first integrated into the force. Global Times on Thursday referred to the Rafale as a third-plus generation fighter jet, in comparison to the Western designation of 4.5 generation. Not surprisingly, the Chinese military has referred to the J-20 as a fourth-generation fighter repeatedly. However, the Chinese media has frequently used the Western system of fighter classification to describe Beijing's aircraft, adding to confusion. Thus the J-20 has been called both a fourth-generation and fifth-generation fighter. The question of whether the J-20 really meets the Western criteria of a fifth-generation fighter is, of course, an altogether different matter. India will make air-breathing hypersonic glide vehicles (HGV) by overcoming all the challenges within a decade from now to use them in military warfare, opined scientists, at a one-day workshop on challenges in air-breathing hypersonic technologies. Scientists would make affordable hypersonic planes by 2050 with which humans could fly from New Delhi to New York within 2 hours. There were a lot of complexities in realizing the dream of making these vehicles, since they have a great challenge of finding the materials that withstand at nearly 1,800 degrees Celsius temperature. Though the scientists across the world have made some groundbreaking steps by demonstrating the hypersonic vehicles flying them for a few seconds, the DRDL sources said that they had spent a lot of money on them. The challenge lies in not only finding materials that withstands the high temperatures, but also it must be affordable for making the hypersonic vehicle in military hardware and possibly for public transportation. DMRL, Defense Metallurgical Research Laboratory, and other research labs have been doing some research on this since 15 years. Hypersonic technologies have always been a niche area delved only by institutions around the world. Hypersonic weapons travel at least 5 times the speed of sound. HGVs are distinguished from traditional ballistic missiles by their ability to maneuver and operate at lower altitudes. The HGV is designed to be invulnerable to intercept by any existing and prospective missile defense means of the potential adversary. A hypersonic capability affords India more options for simultaneously striking ships at sea, forces ashore, and command functions using a force posture that appears deceivingly routine. Distance-wise, India's weapons can already reach the ranges in question. However, to achieve simultaneous effects with existing subsonic capabilities, India must either forward deploy its missile systems or stagger launches as per the threat scenarios. A hypersonic system would have significant benefits in a time-sensitive strike scenario, whether it be taking out a terrorist at a particular location or quickly knocking out vital enemy weapons or installations during a larger conflict. The immense speed of one of these craft could dramatically shrink the time it takes to go from first identifying any target to actually hitting it with a weapon, which in turn gives opponents significantly less time to notice they've been spotted and attempt to reposition, get into cover, or otherwise improve their defenses. India is one among, apart from HGV's tactical uses and strategic goals, will also see humans flying across the continents in air-breathing hypersonic vehicles by 2050 since the research being carried out across the globe has got some positive results. Unlike China's ambiguous capabilities, India is taking hard and strident steps to develop a credible and operational hypersonic vehicle. The government, amid border tensions with China, has given the Army approval for emergency procurement of lightweight tanks that can be deployed in high-altitude conditions. Russia in turn has offered India its 18-ton Sprut SDM-1 lightweight tanks for possible procurement amid the ongoing standoff with China in eastern Ladakh. Sources in the defense and security establishment said the offer for Spruts, capable of being airlifted, was made during Defense Minister Rajnath Singh's visit to Russia in June as per media reports. This will be a significant upgrade, allowing the reintroduction of light tanks that can play a critical role in areas such as Ladakh, where they can be more nimble than the heavier main battle tanks. The acquisition will be made under the emergency purchase nod given after the recent Ladakh standoff to bolster defenses. This will be a significant upgrade, allowing the reintroduction of light tanks that can play a critical role in areas such as Ladakh, where they can be more nimble than the heavier main battle tanks. The acquisition will be made under the emergency purchase nod given after the recent Ladakh standoff to bolster defenses. The deployment of new Type 15 light tanks by China along the Lak in eastern Ladakh in late April has come as a wake-up call.